The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Albrecht.
Here.
Maslow. Day.
Here.
Gurecki. Here. Scarano. Warnzak.
Here.
Bono.
Here.
Mr. Scarano will be a little bit late, but he will be here. No changes.
All right, to the
Let's go to number 3 with our audit, and our financial statement, which is attached from Bowers and Company. And we have a presentation from Woodford, from Jennifer Wall. Ladies, go ahead.
All right, thanks, guys. It's just kind of hard to hear you. So, am I able to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. One second here. Okay, are you able to see the PowerPoint presentation in an
I can see it, Jen.
Can you? Okay, perfect. Okay. So I'm Jen Walk, and Liz Bush. She's the partner on the job. We worked with Victoria and John to get the audit done for this year. So what we're gonna do is the same format as previous years. We're gonna go through a PowerPoint presentation. It's kind of summarizes the audit, summarizes the financial statements, gives you the highlights. And then Victoria should circulate the financial statement. So if you guys have any detail or any question on the details, our information will be at the end of the presentation. Feel free to reach out. Also, if you have any questions during, just feel free to interrupt me. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over required communications. Then we're going to go over the annual audit overview, a few financial statement footnotes that have changed, and then we'll talk about a new report that has been required this year, the investment report. So significant accounting policy, these are disclosed in note 2 of the audited financial statements. Like I said, that'll be circulated. Not huge changes there. We'll show you a few at the end. Accounting estimates, still the same as previous year, depreciation, OPEB, pension. There was a new accounting standard that was adopted this year, ASU 2016-13. So, we will look at this in a few slides. There's really no change for the IDA for this. This is really the most impacted industry would be banks. This standard just quickly is just taking a different approach on how the allowance for doubtful accounts is calculated. Now it's known as credit losses instead of the allowance for doubtful accounts. It takes into account historical collections, historical write-offs, as well as the economy and industry of the receivables that the clients are in. So related to the IDA, there's no change. The amount of receivables outstanding is smaller. And there's no allowance booked for that because historically it's all been collected, and obviously each of the individuals is credit checked and background checked to make sure that they're a reliable source to pay that back. So we felt that there was no change in that for the IDA. So now we're going to jump over material adjustments. So these are honestly the standard adjustments that we make each year to record depreciation on your fixed assets. There was an adjustment to recognize some revenue from a Dolgeville grant. And then the other 3 are your standard entries to adjust to the GASB standard. So lease adjustment, this was implemented last year. So we're just adjusting those to actual, then your standard OPEB and pension based off your valuation and the state allocation. Then we did have one past audit adjustment. This was vacation sick accrual. So obviously GAAP requires that you put a liability on your books for any outstanding PTO or sick time that the employees have at year end. Just put a dollar amount to that and book that as liability. The IDA does not do that, but the amount is less than the materiality for our audit, so that is a past adjustment. Then obviously no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no disagreements with management, and no known communications with other accountants. So the audit report, which you'll see at the front of the financial, is the financial statements are the responsibility of management. Our responsibility, Bowers, is to express an opinion on the financial statements. And the audit was conducted in accordance with GAAP, or excuse me, generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And the opinion that was issued is an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion. So now we're kind of going to jump in here. I'm going to kind of go quickly. Obviously, you guys know what happened during your year, so I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. It was a pretty standard year, a pretty good year. So I'm just going to go through some of the changes here. We'll talk about, this is probably kind of small for you guys too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So cash, we'll talk about cash on the cash flow statement. Grants receivable, the only thing in there, there's an about $90,000 grant for a project that was started in 22. John and Victoria believe it'll be collected in 24, hopefully. So that is the larger amount that's in there. Then this loans receivable right here, as I was talking about before, that is what the new accounting standard relates to. You can see you only have 47,000 outstanding for those. So again, not necessary to record an allowance there. It's deemed to be all collectible. Then you jump down here to your capital assets, obviously huge part of your business. So 5.6 million, each year you're increasing that a little bit with all the improvements to the business parks. Jump over here to your liabilities. You'll see the current portion of the lease standard and the long-term portion. That was what was implemented last year. That's any leases that you have, just putting those on your books as an asset and a liability. You'll see obviously the two that everybody looks right at, OPEB and pension. Again, these numbers come from the state allocation, your portion of that, as well as the valuation done by Aquarius. So don't be alarmed by those large numbers right there. So you jump down there. So you'll see, obviously, we separate out your, for your net assets, we separate out the capital assets. So you got 4.9 million in your net position. And then your restricted and unrestricted make up the rest of that balance, totaling 4.5 million. Now we're going to jump over here to your statement of revenues and expenses. As you can see, all your revenue comes from project fees, which did double from the previous year. So that's a great thing to see. And then you can to 1.3 million. So then you can see down here are all your operating expenses, payroll, health insurance, other insurance, professional fees. Also included in there is your depreciation on your fixed assets, as well as the amortization on the leases as well. Those have increased, but not as much as your revenue. So that's a good thing. Total operating expenses right around 900,000. So your net operating income of about 400,000, which is great. So then you jump down here to your non-operating revenue. So now this is going to be where your grants are recorded and all your grant expenses related to the grants. So mostly business park improvements. This also includes the loss on disposal of assets. This is anything that was disposed of during the year, also taking into account proportional expenses for that business park. So you're not just disposing of that piece, you also have to include all the improvements that were done. So you'll see that in there as well. But again, total non-operating revenues coming to positive 280,000. So your net change for the entire year, about 700,000. Now we're going to get to your cash flow statement. This is where people are usually pretty interested. Everyone wants to know where the cash went. So you'll see here at the top, cash flows from operating. Again, you'll see those agency fees that I talked about for projects. You'll see the subsidy that you get from Herkimer County. And then you'll see all your cash payments, salaries, benefits, professional fees, business park expenditures, stuff like that. So your net cash provided by operating activities is a positive 522,000. Then you jump down to cash flows from non-capital financing. These are your grants and grant expenses. This typically should be pretty close to zero because the grant's coming in and then you're spending that grant money out. So we got $38,000 positive. Then we got cash flows from capital and related financing. This is all your site improvements, purchases of land, anything like that. Obviously, huge part of your business. You're going to see the 1.3 right there in the middle. You'll see the sale of land and then any repayment of long-term debt from the sale of that land back to the county. So I'm sorry. So your net cash used in capital and related was about 450. Then obviously have a little bit of interest. So this comes to a net increase in cash of 124,000 for the year. Our next slide here, this just obviously the first one, that's a direct cash flow. This is an indirect cash flow, just starting with your net operating income, backing out any items that are non-cash. So depreciation, amortization, you're not actually spending cash on these. You've spent the cash previously. So this backs those out, shows all your changes in your balance sheet. I feel like this one's just a little more informative than the direct cash flow. You can see exactly, okay, how much did we collect on loans? How much do we pay out in prepaids? So you can kind of see that right there. Change in accounts payable, minimal, gets you down to your net cash provided by operating activities of 522. All right, I know I kind of went fast on this, but you guys are the experts. So now we're just going to jump into a few notes here. These are, I just wanted to highlight the ones that have changed, things that have changed in your financials. So as you'll see here, as I mentioned before with the new standard CECL, loans receivable were your only receivables that were affected by this. So you'll see here at the end, it is concluded that credit losses on balances outstanding at year end will be immaterial. Like I said, not a huge balance, really no credit risk in that portfolio. So that's just the standard change right there. Grants receivable does not fall under this. Your grants are contribution grants. So obviously, those are fully collectible. This is just in note 1 as well. Recently adopted accounting standards. This just talks about CECL and that you guys have adopted it. And that it did not have a material impact on your financial statement, but you are changing your allowance calculation to address that. This is long-term debt. This is just kind of an interesting one always to show. So you can see here, your long-term debt is with the county. So when you receive, when you sell any property, you then pay back the county for this. So just showing your outstanding balance here of 506, and this part at the bottom is probably the best one. So you're seeing your beginning balance of 606, your reduction for any sales that happened during the year of 100,000, which gets you to your balance of 506 at the end of the year. Now this is the investment report. So maybe Liz, do you want to talk about this one a little bit?
Sure. So this is new this year. So in the past, if an agency or an IDA or a local development corporation didn't have investments, there wasn't any reporting. Now the under the Paris and the Authority Budget Office, they just want to see that a report is issued regardless if you have investments or not. So basically what this report is stating that we audited your financial statements. In conjunction with that, there wasn't anything that came to our attention to make us believe that you failed to comply with the investment standards. And what that would be is the agency has, you have your own investment policy, the comptroller has guidelines, the public authorities, law, there's guidelines under the ABO office. So nothing really to report, but when financial statements do get submitted, the Paris ABO would like to see this report submitted as well. So we'll send that to you so that can be uploaded when the financial statements are uploaded to the state.
And I know that was quick, but that is all we have. So our contact information is at the end here. I can send this report or this PowerPoint to Victoria as well. She also has our contact information. So if any questions come up after the fact, are there any questions now? Anything you want to ask?
So thank you very much for, as always, working with us throughout the year. I think that makes our audit a lot smoother because we do talk to you quite frequently throughout the year. Any board member can contact them directly if you have questions. If you don't want to go through us, we're fine with that. We think everything should be open as it is. I think excellent report. We appreciate all the fine work that you do for us as always. You know, we reformed an LDC, so there'll be some additional things and we'll be happy to work with you on that as well. But thank you so much. And thank you for working with Victoria and Jen throughout the year.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure working with everyone and the board. Yes, again, any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Ladies, thank you very much. Have a great week and weekend, but before you leave, you do have to make us the host again.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
We all set?
Which one do I make the host? Is it just the county administration? Is that the?
John Pisak, I think it says.
Oh, sure.
I'm your host.
All set?
Yep, I think so.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion to add audit.
No, it's done now. After they give it to you, after they present, it's a document.
Oh, okay. So we have to approve it.
Yeah.
Any questions before we? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the audit as presented. And second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Elena, please.
The mission statement of the Herkimer County Industrial Development Agency is to deliver economic incentives to businesses and industries to diversify and strengthen Herkimer County's tax base and enhance community vitality by supporting job creation, housing, business and industrial development, and community revitalization. We strive to develop the local economy in an organized, sustainable, and environmentally beneficial manner.
Thank you very much. Elena, how you liking it so far, by the way?
I like it a lot.
Comments or anything? I mean, all good?
It's a lot, learning a lot, but got some good teachers, so. Thank you.
Welcome to.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to item number 5. The minutes are pages 1 through 6. We have the January 30th meeting, a regular board meeting. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions? All right, I need a motion to accept those minutes as presented. Cory, second, John Serrano, discussion. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Carried. All right, so item number 6, our January financial reports are on 7 through 14 in the pages. John, any?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough year. No, everything is good. We've received all of our once again, we have a couple small loan programs. We've done well with those. They keep paying us back. Everybody's good on the pilot. We have a couple new projects coming in, so that'll help our bottom line out. Once again, we appreciate the county funding that'll come in too. That'll help us support with a lot of projects as well. So, as you saw from last year, we're continuing that momentum.
Any questions?
Yeah, how much longer we got on the build out?
To the end of our lease.
Which is September of this year.
Is the end of our lease.
And our plans are.
To pitch a tent in a parking lot somewhere and, live down by the river.
We have a parking lot. No, we
Pretty
have.
crowded now. Yeah, because we had to build out our space. Well, we're gonna have to extend it. We were hoping to have the Sonic already. I'm not sure what's going on with, as far as with the county, the legislature has been very supportive of getting us that. I think it's tied up a little bit in legal. But we need to control that soon or else we're gonna miss out on some grants. There's a couple of big grant opportunities we'll talk about. I have that on a little bit down the road. So, but yeah, that would be our game, is to move on. Kevin has told me he'd have no problem renting our space. And if you pulled in and on the backside of the building, you see that they're building out that first floor now. If any given day you come here, you have to park on the side street or over by the big pool, so it's getting very crowded here.
Build out the Sonic.
It's probably a year and a half.
Year and a half, so.
Yeah,
we guess it's, can we get a short term lease?
of course. We have in our lease, we can extend it. Yeah.
Amenable to
When
it.
you're.
In our lease, we can
You go
extend
year
it.
by
so it
year, you
doesn't- I would do that. I would recommend that. And I'm pretty sure he's told everybody too, that if you need to get out sooner, they're very happy to support that too, because they have a lot of people wanting to come in, more boating expansion. So.
Price thing. Constant with what you pay.
You don't want to go down because we don't have to pay the bill down anymore.
Any other questions on the financials? Need a motion to accept those? Anyone? Ted, second by Mike, discussion, all in favor aye. Any opposed nay, carried. Item 7 are our annual tariff reports, they're on pages 15 through 34, you want to go through each of those, John, or how do you want to?
Well, we did send it out if there was any, there's nothing that's changed over the years. These are just part of the ABO reporting that we have to do every year and have it in by the end of March, right?
Correct.
So we're trying to get ahead of it a little bit this year. That's another reason why we had Bowers on this month too. There's a few things that we can't finish up until next month, but we'll have mostly everything done. It's just reconfirming everything that you see on there, our policies from before. We haven't changed anything there. We haven't changed anything to our mission statement. So everything is pretty much just the same carryover. It's just part of the process to get us in front of the
Important documents and. Any
Will these
questions?
already submitted?
Yes. No, to the ABO? No, we can't till,
You all have to approve down.
yeah, we're gonna do it at the end of the end.
Just a small comment, before it updates, it shows some projects in process.
Um,
They're already.
well, did they close if they close this year, it's one thing, but if they were open last year, that's another. So we're doing this as of December 31st, 2023.
So it's as of December 31st, but it's.
There's no way you could do it at the end of the year, so we do it. when
Okay,
it's
That
required.
makes sense then.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So nothing, I know it at least gives us some months to do the stuff. It's very, what has to be entered into the ABO Paris report is just, I think it's probably this thing.
Yeah. no,
So that's where it all ends, that end of that. So,
Okay, any other questions? The motion to accept that, the Paris report. Hang on a second, Lori, discussion, all in favor aye, any opposed nay, carried. Item number 8 is the marketing, Aaron,
This is the first month she hasn't made me review it, so I'm very interested to see what's going to. There better not be
I
any
didn't even think
music
of that.
pictures of this. That's all I'm saying.
Pretty picture.
I don't know. That's just good.
Last week we went to the legislative breakfast at the college.
A little louder.
Last week, we went to the legislative breakfast at the college. Those are my pictures.
Very well attended. I was impressed with Josh Perlman. I think he's setting up a meeting up in, Old Forge soon. He also has provided us many grant opportunities to do some different things. And, one of them we're looking at right now, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but he's been very good at communicating a lot of things to us. I'm quite impressed with. Who we represent? Schumer. Yeah.
So I made a logo for the LBC.
Wait, don't tell him what it is. What building is that, everybody? Isn't that cool? That's gonna be our logo.
Do not like it.
Change it.
What if we move from there? None of us will be on that board. We are there until the end of time.
That's so permanent.
It's so cool. If you could see in the, even up in the top is the little Masonic emblem. It's very cool. I love that.
Real manifesting project.
I love that. I love that. So that's our LBC.
The background is supposed to be green, but when it's on like shirts and stuff, we can't do color, so it's whatever shirt.
The back of the shirt.
Looks good in black.
I like black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice. And, you know, keeps us different from our other logo.
Yeah. I don't know.
We had to keep, well, we're gonna tear that down, but
Just.
still,
It came back.
we're gonna put a ramp
Cover
in.
that right.
We went to the New York State Economic Development Conference in Albany 2 weeks ago. John did a lovely panel presentation,
I did a what?
a lovely panel presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So in the bottom left-hand corner is our representative in housing and community renewal. And what's very scary is, do you see Jen in the back? And the young lady right next to her, not Victoria, they went to high school. Isn't that cool? And so we've been working with HRC, and that's Scott Lamount, they're an excellent rock star guy helping us out all the time. We really did have a great meeting. In the top right, we're with Brian Silva, he heads up the EDC. Just a great day, 2 days. Dale came for a day. I think everybody learned a lot. We got to meet a ton of people. It was a very good conference.
I mean, most of you were there, but this is when Governor Hochul came.
She's a short lady.
Tomorrow is the Genesis luncheon, if nobody else, what? Yeah, I had a picture. If somebody hasn't signed up yet and wants to come.
Did you see what she did in the picture in there?
Is everyone going?
No, well, yes, you have, to. It doesn't mean you, he means the board. Yeah. She's a character, isn't she? Yeah, who signed up for that tomorrow? Did any of you all? And
There's a lot of.
you guys going, Mike? 10? No, okay. And then Alana said she'd be there too. And she's feeling better.
That's it.
Yeah.
When are you speaking?
Within that time at noon, I don't know.
I know.
Oh, you talked to Rick. First or last? I don't mind that at all.
I asked you that.
Oh, good. So then they can judge everybody else. It's fun to go in front of Steve the Mail, but I'm not thinking he's gonna be there tomorrow. Just saying.
See, this way, after you get done, the rest of it will be just,
You can all leave.
Set it up.
I'll go to the bar.
Thank you. Let's go to item number 9, the grant update, Micro Enterprise and Housing Study. So, okay.
For the micro enterprise, we are still assisting several businesses with their applications. I have about 3 or 4 that are almost to the finish line, so I think we'll see a lot of those on our next agenda to get those through. Aaron and I are also going to be working on another marketing blast on social media, and I'm going to put some flyers and stick them in some mailboxes and try to get the word out. So if you know of anybody that's interested, send them my way so we can get those going. Anything you want to add?
Yes, the chamber and it's happening in Herkimer and MVEBD are sponsoring the event in this room. March, I can't remember the date coming up.
21st, I think.
Is it that you guys will be in here with, small businesses are coming in, they'll have the flyers and they'll talk to the individuals about people that they might be able to assist with those. We do get a lot of calls, but we don't get a lot of follow-up. So we request from them certain information, we tell them we'll work with them, some people come in and sit down, which we'd love to do. Some, once we send it to them, they really don't wanna do the paperwork. We can't do the paperwork without them, but we can help them through it. And that's one of the big problems with this. We've had several at the request of several of you in this room. And we get to a point and we just can't keep calling, you know, they have to wanna do that.
So they start here with you, right? They start here, the businesses start here and then they go to the SBDC for part of this.
Yeah.
Okay, then it comes
Not
back.
paperwork, they go there for the training, we have a training if they need to do the
Okay.
training. And then we help them with the grant, you know, a small example is Mrs. Shape. In Mohawk there, she's come in, they've had conversations, she brings no Mexican burgers with her. I just want you to know that. I'm disappointed. But, she should be opening soon, I think.
The end of March, she's thinking because the weather is very.
So that's the kind of businesses we want to have.
It doesn't have to be started, like saying business that's expanding, moving.
Well, they have to, there's certain requirements, like low to moderate income, and addition of some people, if they're that type of business. I mean, we've done one for an individual logger that he was all by himself, so. And the group that we showed you up there that we met at the conference or talked to all the time, there's who we work with. So we get through the application process, get it all together and send them like a draft. And what do they think through the whole process? They're very eager to get back to us, so it works out pretty well. We haven't really turned away too many.
Small companies.
Yeah, under 5.
Yep, 5 or fewer, including the owner. The owner counts as one of those.
You know, we had a call the other day with a company that's buying a hotel up in Old Forge. And just from the conversation, we knew they couldn't meet the requirements, you know, of this grant. But we turned them on to MVEBD for a Marco loan, you know, because they needed a little bit to finish off their funding stack. So, you know, we can at least help guide them a little bit.
So March 21st, is there details on that event, or is that we were talking about as far as?
There is a flyer and it's been out there, but we'll make sure everybody gets mailed the flyer. And we'll also start seeing it more on social media too.
Okay, yes.
We'll try to get it on. It's happening in Herkimer too, but they got a full plate, but we'll see. You're sponsoring it. That's news to Jimmy, fantastic.
Okay, anything else? We're all set? Jen?
We don't have any, do we have money in the 222 before we continue on?
It's very minimal because we did use all of the funds, so whatever is in there is what we've received back, and I would say that it's maybe like $1,700-ish. So it's not a full.
So when do we shut that down, I guess?
Whenever you want to.
Well,
I guess that's up
well,
to you.
I don't think it's restricted any longer. We don't have to report it anymore. It's past a certain point. How much is left, did you say? And do
I think it's around like 1,700.
and do we have any more, do we have any outstanding 222s?
There's only one.
Okay, so what we'll do for the next meeting is reach out to our attorneys, ask them what we can do with this money, should give them all the background, see where we're outstanding on that, and then go from there to close it out.
Anything else?
Yep, for the housing study grant, we're still working on the RFP, putting final touches on that so that we can get that reviewed and sent out to start the bids on that one.
That's truly my fault. I haven't had time to review it. I'll get to it within 3 and then we'll get that going. But it's strictly, we're not going out to a housing study to find out what housing we don't have or have. We know that already. So we're seriously gonna look at modular, mobile, and tiny homes, and where they can fit throughout our county to make it more accessible for some of the new industry moving into the region, as well as some areas like along maybe the Route 20 corridor, where we don't see a lot, where all you really need is electric and water possibly. And then, you know, you can do septic, and gas is kind of limited, but a lot of issues. So we'll really take a deep dive into that.
Okay, anything else, Shannon? You're all set with that?
That is all I have. Thank you.
Let's go to item 10, the IDA Administrative Services Agreement. That's on pages 35 to 39. That's, everyone's speaking.
Yes, this is the LDC. So what this will be is for our contract with the agency and the LDC. This is between the agency staff, which is us, and you as the corporation of the LDC. You're appointing us to do all of the administrative work. Currently, there'll be no cost added to this because we're a new venture, and we can look towards anything as we grow the LDC. But right now, it's strictly just an agreement that allows us, just like any other agreement we set up as a sub-recipient agreement with other grants in the county, or wherever else we'll assist with DRI, if that happens with Herkimer, or with the BOAs that we're working on with several communities. So it's the pretty much the exact same thing. We're just the agency involved with this organization.
Questions? The motion to accept. Jim, seconding, discussion. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, carried. There's no item 11. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, I gotta write that down.
Item 12, which is really the number 11. The sign building, indemnification agreement, 40-43, again.
So this is us, once the county puts everything in motion, this is the agreement that needs to be approved by the IDA and the LDC, which I think that'll be coming up in our next meeting with the agency staff. So to actually administer the Sonic.
Questions?
Yeah.
The sentence I was confused about, I mentioned on page 2 of the document, page 41 of our packet, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th paragraph down. It says in connection with the acquisition, the corporation has requested the agency, so the LDC has requested the IDA to enter the real property transfer and indemnification agreement. So why is the LDC asking the IDA to enter into the indemnification?
Shannon, you're on. Can you answer that question? Did you hear what it was?
Sorry, can you repeat it? It's kind of hard to hear when you're not right next to the microphone.
Sure.
Okay, on page 2 of the agreement, right, 41 in your packet, under the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, whereas it talks about indemnification of the agency, where we thought that the property was going strictly right into the LDC. So it really looks like has requested the agency to enter the real property transfer. Why are we in the middle of that transfer again?
So it's not a real property transfer. That's just the name of the whole document, real property transfer and indemnification agreement.
So we're not, so this is the overall agreement with but it's for the Masonic.
Yeah, so that agreement will cover the real property transfer to the LDC and will cover the indemnification of the county by both the IDA and the LDC. So
Oh,
that
I understand. So what that's gonna mean, if there's any liability for the county, we're gonna take care of it. So say if the IDA and the LDC. So the IDA would say if there's a fee involved after we take it over, that they change the in-rem process and they go back and say, any money you would gain from this selling it, which we're not selling it, but if that happened, we would have to pay back the previous owner. Is that correct, Shannon?
yes, if I heard you correctly, then yes, I think so.
Is that standard? Wouldn't we want it to be all contained within the LDC?
The county wouldn't agree to give it to us unless the IDA took part of that as well.
So they wanted to blanket the liability.
They wanted,
Or the-
Lorraine wanted to cover the county that if there was a cost and the LDC had no money, the IDA would cover that. We don't think it's a bad thing, and we're not selling the property either. So I don't see it wasn't
I
really an
understand
issue
now.
for us. So what happens when you take these in-rem properties and we invest so much money into it? They would have to pay us back everything we put into it in order to get any money out of it. So if we put 2 million in, whoever owns it now, we would have to sell it for over 2 million and then get it back, yeah.
But that's pending, right? That's pending
What's
legislation, the surplus.
actually, no, that got vetoed out,
You know, at the end of the year.
yeah, and so now there's a new bill, but it doesn't pertain to that at all.
Is there a cost when the IDA takes
No, maybe a transfer fee, but we didn't even talk about $40, I don't know, whatever, or probably nothing, it shouldn't be.
I understand it now.
Yeah, good though, because I didn't know how to explain it, but thank you, Shannon.
Of course.
Okay, any other questions? Your motion to accept. Motion Ann, second Mike, thank you, any discussion? Favor aye. Any opposed, nay.
What's the time frame? What's the time frame on the building actually turning?
Waiting on some legal stuff for the county attorney's office.
I think, I'd like to hear the legislature has been very supportive. They've call voted, I think, a couple times to give us the property. I really can't answer what the holdup is. Can you answer what the holdup
No,
is?
I think, waiting on the judges. I believe, there was something with the judge, with the response.
Well, I think the judge approved everything for us to do it. It went out to everybody that, was on the list to send it out to clear the properties. That's coming back within a week or two. But then there's been conversations of waiting till the auction. And I'm not really sure why that would have to happen.
Well, Mr. Wallace is on. Kim, are you on, or I don't see him?
I believe I can answer that if you'd like.
Oh, yes, Mr. Bowen.
Last I knew, it has nothing to do with the auction. But they are waiting to go through the process to ensure we're not taking it from someone that we shouldn't be taking it. Sometimes these properties have a long line of ownership and they're just verifying all of that. And sometimes the process just takes time because you have to have
Amazing is we got-
required waiting periods and so on.
What I find unique is we had to get proper identification of owners in order to have temporary ownership, incidents of ownership to go onto that property. So I thought that was all done, or else we couldn't have went on there. Now it's being said that there could be other owners. Did we go on it illegally?
I can't tell you that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Could just be maybe part of the formal process.
I know they are pushing this ahead of other properties, or they're working on doing that. In this current in-rem bundle.
the problem, what I see happening is, Restore opened up. And we need to have ownership of it, or else we can't apply for Restore. And we would either apply for Restore through either the village or the county. And then, we're gonna go at earmark money is a little different, and we're gonna go after earmark money for the certified state kitchen in the basement and the rehab of that. So that we can do without complete ownership, but we can't for that Restore.
What is the timeframe for that? So,
May. The end of
Are
May.
you sure that you absolutely need ownership, or is the resolution saying we're giving you the property
That
sufficient
doesn't
enough?
absolutely have to have, somebody has to have ownership in it that's applying with the person. So right now it's the H&H Tanning. If you could get him to apply with the county, that would be okay, but I doubt that would happen. Yes, you absolutely have to have ownership of that building. You have to have control of that building.
Okay.
it kind of opens in May or closes in May?
Closes in May. It's open right now. So we can submit a letter of intent to do it. But once the grant goes, if we don't have ownership, we can't do the grant. And if it sits another year,
But if you're waiting for the auction, you can pay for it.
June. June, I've never seen an auction. June at the college. Now it's online.
Well, it's June and then
Better yet, worse yet. April was earlier, June is late, June's after the fact. We need it done before May.
It's all up to the treasurer to. I don't know what behind. Okay, well, it is what it is. And
Well, that's just it. How much more work do we, you say it is what it is, but how much more work do we put into it? How many more, I can't get the grant ready if we're not gonna have ownership. That's kind of a waste on that side of it. I'm gonna still do the earmark money, because there's not a drawback to that. But if I get everything, I don't know if you've seen a restore grant, and much we've had to do, just like we did in Ilion for the dual fold, that's a lot of work. And if we do that, all of that, and we don't have ownership, then it's a moot point. Well, what do you recommend, Chairman?
Well, we converse with the county attorney and see where we are. So we pick up the phone and.
I guess it would be nice to know like how the process goes, like what are the waiting periods and I just don't know, I don't understand it, so.
That would be great. How do we go about getting that?
Call him.
Well, call the rank.
So it's changed, or I don't really understand. We've been talking about this for over a year now, so where do we go? Which legislator do we talk to?
Just go ahead, chairs the properties committee. Mark, are you, can you make a phone call or we can do it?
Sure, I will make a phone call, but it's probably going to be the same thing that John and I have talked about before. I told him we're waiting for the referee report to come back on or about March 16th. And then the affidavits have to be signed by the property agent. And we are working as quickly as we can for that property.
How do we get a time frame schedule, I think, like what Ann's requesting?
I will call again and ask.
So you'll get something in writing from the attorney for us?
I will ask for that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just curious.
No, I
just have
agree.
No clue how long it usually takes, so being that this is the first one, it would just be nice to have a baseline understanding. I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to take the properties too. And the ones that we're mostly talking about have air on them. So the in-rem process, the county's basically been pushing those aside. We don't want them because there's a liability. Where, we'll do this one to help out with that liability. So, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, you did.
any more discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Carried. Item 13, Emmerich surveying, for the Four Corners Business Park.
So we have a bill in the statement here, $13,700. It shouldn't have, in the beginning, it wasn't as expensive, but we've run into a couple things that we've had to recheck a few things. So we need to have this approved. Tony Halleck, you're on. Do you believe that Mr. Emmerich is done with everything he's doing, or will there be additional monies needed?
John, it's inevitable that there's going to be additional work depending upon the historical view of the records and some additional things the title insurer may require to be placed on the maps.
I'd rather discuss the overall purchase of the property in executive session.
Okay.
We do have questions about this.
So we're gonna wait for this?
No, we're gonna approve this amount.
Because there's gotta be more.
Yeah,
Right,
but we
so-
don't wanna leave him hanging.
No, I know, I was just wondering if we approved up to.
I don't know how much that up to will be. I'm hoping it's not a lot. Up to. Oh, you're not kidding. We can discuss that. too. I think I'd rather come back. Yeah, because I'll. Well, I think he's got to go out there again too. Don't you, Tony?
It's more than likely they will have to go out and reestablish some points once the additional abstracting work is completed.
Okay. So 13.7, motion. And second, Cory, discussion. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay, carried. 14, number surveying again, German Place Business Park, John?
As in anything, when we're reviewing opportunities for properties, we send out Mike to do a survey to really give us a handle and an understanding of the property. So we have the survey done on the property, and here is the bill to do that.
$6,300 bill for that. Any questions? Yeah.
I didn't think this was advanced far enough for a survey. How can we even get on this property?
We can talk about that.
And right,
Yes.
so should this move to executive
No,
session too?
it's just a survey. It's a public record now. We paid for, or we didn't pay for it yet, but we have it. It's a public record. the survey.
So this is approving it in advance of.
No, he's already done it. He's done it. I didn't think it would be this amount when we started the ball rolling to look at that property. And we can talk about where we are in negotiations with that in executive session. But this is public survey.
Okay, I.
So when
I
we
didn't
start
think
to
we
look
were
at-
even that far along with it, so I was. I
Yeah,
didn't
we,
know why
well, because we started doing DEC reports, we started having HRP look at it. We started doing the survey, we asked about the SHPO, we wanted to move ahead. So concurrently, we do about 10 different things to make sure about the property first.
So I'm sure there's more of an update in executive session to understand this bill.
Well, this bill is,
Excuse me, this invoice.
this invoice is part of the due diligence on any property we go by. So before we even buy a lot of them, we did this too over in the Di Christina property in Mohawk. I don't think you were here then, but we did all of this there as well before we bought it. The same way like SHPO, so that's the way, if we have to do the due diligence first. If we did
Right.
this and the railroad survey came back before we even made an offer and showed that the line was not where we thought it was, or there was
Right.
access, it wouldn't be good for us.
Doesn't the owner have to allow the surveyor on the property?
Well, he did in the beginning.
He
allowed
did in
us
the
to.
beginning.
No,
Oh, I
we
didn't
all
know
had that
that.
agreement to get going on everything. The only thing he didn't allow us to do is the whole, I'd rather talk about that. in executive
Okay,
session.
I didn't know that, that's, okay.
I need a motion for $6,300 to Mike, Tim, and Mike, got it. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Carried. Item 15, Project Jefferson, looks like it's gonna be a no-go. There's a letter there from, page 47, explaining their, they did really want to come in, but they had some pushback from their, customers. And
No, but they didn't have one pushback from customers. I'm not sure we received.
There's a fair amount of pushback from its customers, definitely moving the operations outside of the.
No, but the reason, that's not what they told me, so I don't know why they would put this in here. They said they don't have a good exit plan. Both of them are getting elderly. So that's why we took this, and that really is, I guess I did not see that part of it, I looked past it. But that's amazing to me. Because is that a reason why we give back, Tony? I have a problem with this now.
John, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that from you and Jimmy at the end of the table.
Jimmy brought up a good point here. It says they received a fair amount of pushback from their customers regarding their move operation out of Utica. Is that a reason why we should take
I
this out?
still can't hear you, John. I'm sorry.
Are we on mute for some reason over here? Remember how it timed out?
The audio is bad at that end of the table.
Can you hear me now, Tony?
Yes.
Okay, on the letter from Bond, Shennick and King, it talks about receive a fair amount of pushback from its customers regarding operation outside of Utica. Why would we return their money after they paid us just for, I don't agree with that line. That's not our issue. You already bought the land. Why
The
would-
answer, John, is, and this has been our historical build-in, they have 18 months to do a project, or we buy it back. In this case, there was an earlier trigger that they are electing not to do a project and move forward. So the contract provides, whether it's now or 6 months from now, we are obligated to buy it back. We did that with Harbor Point.
Well, that was something different. They didn't develop it. They wanted to sell it off as something else. But here, but the reasoning I have a problem with, because in one sense, when they told me that, and if they're gonna say this for the record, I'm gonna say my conversations with them is, they don't have an exit plan. Both of the older owners are moving on in age and they have nobody that they see taking this over. So that's why they didn't want to build this, but here it says something different.
Well, John, they're exercising their option within the terms of our contract.
Okay, so it really doesn't matter why they put it down.
No,
Okay.
they're not moving forward with the project. They
We
don't,
have to pay them back by.
it was, the contract provides 45 days from the notice, but they haven't provided any title work. They're not pushing us at this point in time.
So we can wait till they give us the title work.
Well, yeah, they have to redeliver the abstract and draft the proposed deed and do the work, at this point. I'm not pushing it.
Okay, so we're just gonna, so what are we voting for today then?
I just need, a motion because the terms were already set forth in the contract that we approved. Just a motion to approve the reconveyance to the agency.
And then, we won't start the payment process until you get X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
Are you okay with that?
So my question, Tony, my question would be, would there be any changes to our contracts moving forward, given this instance? Would you recommend any changes to our contracts, given what has occurred?
And if I understand it, I guess the question becomes, if somebody knows that they don't have a project today, what's the point of waiting another 6 months?
No.
Do you want to make the contract more specific as to how people can renege or back out?
Or do we charge them a fee?
That's my, Tony, my question is, based on this instance, would there be any recommendations that you would make for us to change the contract? Because now, you know, they didn't have a project in mind, they didn't start. So they have the ability to, but, you know, we have to buy back that land. Is that something we're okay with? And is there any recommendations you would make to change the contract moving forward? That's my question.
And I think too, also, that stopped us from marketing that property for how many months? Yeah, I mean, so that really put us behind on that too. How do we let them just go away without any penalties or time served?
In this instance, that might be the case where they probably will have the legal right to walk away and we have to repurchase the land. The question is, going forward, Tony, do you recommend any changes to our contract?
Well, the answer is, we need to consider, do we allow them to flip the property out for profit because we want to buy it back? At the same time, let them have that option, so we don't have to buy it back. Or I guess we could always try to negotiate at the onset, putting a penalty in so that we buy it back at a discount so that they have to. Or 3, we don't close unless they have a project.
We buy it back at a discounted rate.
Well, that would be a penalty then, which is okay, but I don't think we can put in there. We don't want them selling it at a profit to somebody that we won't know, or there's other companies out there who would buy this that wouldn't be conducive to the park. So we want to make sure we still have that. However, I agree too, I think. So this we have to do, so we know that, but maybe, Tony, we can have a conversation a little bit another day where we'll go through this and we'll sit down, we'll have a Zoom meeting and just talk about what we can do to maybe tighten this up or change it a little bit. Is that okay?
I'm all good with it. At the end of the day, we're not out of pocket. We're getting, I mean, I know it's profit in our eyes for the land sale, but if we remarket it at the same price and sell it, it's better than it's sitting there laying fallow for another 6 months to 12 months.
Are they paying your legal fees?
On this,
Yeah.
there is no legal fee on this for the reconveyance.
But how about on the land sale?
I was paid when the sale was done. On the reconveyance, there is nothing. I would have been paid if there was a project. That's where I lose out.
You know, it's not so much, in my mind, the dollar amount associated with getting it back. It's the possible missed opportunity. And, you know, developing these parks it's an ecosystem. So, you know, when we have an instance like this, I feel like we had potentially missed out on some opportunity. So that's my point. I get where this happened and we have to move forward based on our language. I respect that. But it's the missed opportunity that I'm trying to make that point.
It was made public that they were coming in. Everybody, you know, went through chests and the Cone Skyler did this and all that.
And that happens.
So it happened. So now, shouldn't they come and say, well, we're not going there because our customers don't want us to go there? They're not gonna do that. You see what I'm trying to say? In other words, everybody was so happy and this and that. It should be on the public why it's not gonna happen and how much that cost us. So in the future, it doesn't happen.
But to Corey's point, maybe shortening the window of acquisition and development and just ensuring that the development of the park.
There's a negative effect in there. If you make it too restrictive, you may shy away a potential buyer.
It could also, it could be negotiated too. I think setting a baseline expectation is just tightening up that baseline.
I think we need to have another meeting on that. I really want to. I think that's a great idea.
And we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves, you know, any future partners, but it just, yeah, I get it.
For discussion. Okay.
Did we vote on it?
No, not yet.
No, the motion to,
Tony, what was your motion again?
I just need a motion to approve the reconveyance to the agency under the contract.
David, please, anyone? Second, Cory. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Page 2, 16, Blue Mute again.
Jen's got something to hand out. So this is something Tony sent over that we need to, we gotta handle stuff, guys. Small as well.
I'm good. Oh, yeah. I have a question.
Yeah. So Tony, here's another one from Bloom Utica.
Yes. So Marcus Ventures, who developed the Home Depot warehouse, is selling. They provided us notice under the terms of the leaseback to transfer the project. The terms of the leaseback do not require our consent, but require 30 days notice. That notice period allows us to review their insurance and the documents of the transferee to make sure that they're eligible. They've provided all that, but there was just an itty bitty little hiccup in that the transferee turned out to be multiple parties, not a single entity. So we received a revised notice with the correct entities yesterday. And we are being asked to waive the 30-day provision of notice under the circumstances, which I'm recommending because we've reviewed all the documents. Document package will actually be delivered to the agency this afternoon. And the reconveyance will close by Friday of this week.
So you need a motion to approve?
Just need a motion to approve the waiver of the 30 days.
Any stated, please, someone, Mike, second, Lori, discussion? All in favor, aye? Any opposed, nay? Carried. Item 1740 Mary Street.
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Mine is still fine, but anyway, I own the property, we just don't like that, right, I don't know how that happens, but anyway.
Wait,
this
you
is
own
the
the
parking-
property, you have to
This,
abstain.
this is the parking lot, that, Amazon, I've been going back and forth with, where are we, Jack?
We are still, they said they have all approval, we just haven't received a check yet. I find it quite funny, but I do have another discussion on this property to talk about in executive session. But I just wanted to just give everybody an update. It's been through all the legal, recourse at, Amazon, the 40 layers of, I don't know what, and, not really sure.
They're not on it, right?
Oh,
Are they on it? What do you mean, are they using it?
no, they're, okay, I didn't understand. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, they're not there yet. No tents, no porta potties, and no lights are on that property.
Okay. So that's the update.
Yeah.
Item 18, Town of Webb,
How much longer are we gonna wait on this thing?
I would like to discuss that in executive session.
It has been for a while.
I would like to discuss that in a executive session.
Okay, Town of Webb income survey, is in your packet, 48 to 52. The proposal, what do you have, Jen?
I got a lot, Jim. No, with this survey here, in order to, they're having some issues with their water and sewer up in, the town of Webb. They're looking to do some expansions and upgrades. In order to receive certain grants, you need to have an income survey done. This income survey will only be done with the current residents on their water and sewer. So we want to support them on this. We've done it in other areas. Part of the proposal is also, mailers and postage. They will handle that part of it. The only thing we will work with, and we will, set up the contract with these guys directly, will be the income survey at $20,250. We've done it in the town of Schuyler and a couple, I think maybe Newport, I can't remember. I went out to talk to several other people that supposedly do this. No one else would respond with a quote. And I talked to a couple other consultants that said they're very difficult to come up with people now to help you with these income surveys. When I asked one of our consultants, they recommended these guys. I don't know. I think they'll start as soon as possible because I know there's some grant opportunities to come up. They didn't believe it would take so long, but I haven't called these guys directly yet. I was trying to get somebody else to kind of quote on that as well. But when I talked to the town the other day, when I was up there, they said that they would start on this right away. It's not that many. It's only, I think, 1,500, something like that. Not that many.
And this is, going out of our coffers, we're paying whole thing, or?
Yeah, 20, except for the postage.
All right,
So this is a need up there, though. The water and sewer is definitely a need up there. So we gotta move this. We don't have to, but I would recommend it truly up there.
I just think for them to convey for around 10 minutes. Is it a year?
No, it'll be quicker than that. I'll find that out. It's only gonna be a couple months because they know that right now the money is to get it done the sooner. So you mail out income surveys to everybody, you follow up with a phone call and you get the data. The mailing list is simple. It's done with the town and village, town taxes or the water or sewer bills.
so this is only sent to year-round, orders.
This is only people in the district. So they have to live within the district. This isn't going up to the Wynn House. You know, this is only going to the residents of Oak Forge. I think,
And it's 1,600 plus or minus.
I think it's less than on the water and sewer. It's different.
Who's the contact at the town of Webb? Because some of them have water quality coordinating committee, which gets money for that watershed, because of water issues, and they always have a hard time spending it. So it's really,
I will make sure that they get out to you on that. I believe this is, well, Bonnie's name is on here, but it's not Bonnie who's dealing with it. I want to say it's Kurt Bird. So that's what I wanted, but I'll get you his contact for sure.
We need a vote. Mike? Second? Yeah, discussion. Favor aye. Any opposed, nay. Item 19, Russell Farms training.
So we've already approved the Village of Frankfurt Fire and Police Department to do training in the Russell Farm property. Matt Colombo has asked us if Billion could be on board with that. Mayor Stevens requested that as well. I think in being a good neighbor, and it's not gonna make anything different, they're not using hoses. They're gonna go into, they will do some interesting things in the structures, which is fine. They're only gonna get torn down anyways. I think it's appropriate to do it. They have insurance waivers. Tony came up with a document that we're gonna just modify to say the Village of Ilion Fire Department. So we need
Let a motion. Cory, second, John. Any discussion? All favor aye. Any opposed, nay, carried. Last item on the agenda is project transfer fee, Village 53.
Yeah. So this ties us back to what we were talking about with Bloom Utica. We don't have any fees in place when we're doing transferring these different benefits that we've been giving. So we're proposing to this fee schedule be added to our fee schedule. So it's outlined, it's in comparison to a couple other counties that we reviewed as well. And we feel as though this is something that we should have been asking for, but as we continue to grow and see these different things. We really think like in solar projects, they're gonna wanna bail after so many years. Only because it makes sense with the new system, the way it's set up for pilots for property taxes. So we see that happening. And then we've just outlined the different projects, the general projects, and then application fee. It's because of the work that we have to do here.
We do the same work, just about, correct, to make sure that the new company is eligible.
Tony will do that within his fees. Ours is basically just managing to get it to the new account, make sure they're on the pilot list, sending them out the pilot now. So it's a lot of different things, but I wouldn't say as much, but close, right?
Yeah.
Sort of close. So one for yes, two for no, three for leave me alone.
4.
So,
Yeah, I wasn't asking for.
but it's the benefit
Of
of the
us.
new, of us, but what I mean is the transfer of the new entity as well, they're able to step into shoes.
Well, yeah, in most cases they would, but we've never collected the fee for this before and we
And I
should.
think it's, yeah, absolutely. You have a proposal for the fee?
Well,
Or
the
is that
fees are all outlined here. It's just the reassignment
Yeah.
of benefits. What are we thinking for that?
In other counties, they had about 2,000, but you kind of wanted to leave it open to what you guys thought would be a good number.
I think 2K would be fine for the amount of hours that we'll utilize and the way they set it up in the new system. Tony, would you agree with that? 2,000 would be kind of like what we see around. I think Jefferson might have been a little higher, but not much.
Jefferson tends to be higher on a lot of things, but 2,000 right now for a basic project is probably what, my time is. I've been negotiating that as part of doing the documents, but internally, with the solar projects, it's a great example that there's got to be work staff wise, and I think 2,000 is eminently fair.
Without any objection, 2K is good on that final line. Okay, with a motion to approve these fees. Tim, second, and discussion. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? All right, we have comments by elected officials. I know we have 3 legislators, 1 here in Brad, Malta.
I haven't seen anybody since this year. Other than that, great momentum still going with the IDA, I see. And I'm a big supporter of the IDA, so wish you the best of luck this year.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Bill Wakely.
Nothing from here. Very informative. Thanks a lot for all your efforts.
Thanks, Phil. And Mark.
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Anyone else? There's another number there. I don't know if we did it, the legislator or not.
a local resident.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, that concludes, the regular agenda. John, you wanna go through the project updates?
Sure. Okay, Russell Farm. If you drive by the farm, you'll see a lot of hay out there. The water line is connected over, the sewer is over there. What we're still waiting on is the pumps. And then they'll redo the driveway apron. All the electronics are set up for the light. We're anticipating that probably the end of March, early April. Brownfield Development Summit, April 23rd and 24th. Please sign up. The 5 Points in Utica will be the night that the networking that night. The first day, which is Monday, April 22nd, we will be hosting with the EPA a roundtable event at the college. That's if you're an EPA grant holder, so we will have people from all over our region, New Jersey, New York, and the Dominican or the Caribbean will be here at that meeting on Monday. So that's a good opportunity to network. And then that night, we're going to be holding a networking event as well through BCONE, which is our Brownfield Coalition of New England. So that's important too. So please sign up for this early. Tonight, we're still going to that BCONE event in Syracuse. If anybody wants to tag along, we're a sponsor. Me and AV are going tonight. So anybody else, let me know. I'm driving. The Genesis luncheon is on Wednesday, the 28th at 12 p.m. at Hartshill Inn. Please come and show your support. Rem Arms, the HRP group is there today. They were there yesterday doing a phase 1 assessment. Learned a lot already, things I didn't know about. There's some documents pertaining to DuPont still that are out there. There's some wells that we need to verify. I guess we'll look to see if we need to do a phase 2. Some of the surrounding properties that they own where parking lots are, were previously gas stations and other service stations. So we're gonna have to look at those a little deeper. I'm also working with the EPA on a technical assistance grant to really help give us some kind of vision on what we can do with that Rem Arms facility. So we should know more on that. I'm hoping to hear on that any day now. Manheim Business Park Water Tower. We had a great meeting with Wright Pierce the other day. We met with Chet, the engineer for Dolgeville, and the team down there, and the mayor. Everything went great. Tony. Their attorney is no longer that other gentleman. It is now Carl Mann.
Follow the ball, okay.
Oh, so he's now their attorney in Dolgeville. City of Little Falls, we're working on closing out their BOAs. Both the City of Little Falls and the Village of Frankfurt had all of this documentation, but they never submitted it for their BOA. So we're working now, we're talking to a couple different groups. But once we get in line with one group, we'll be coming back. It won't be too much money we'll need, but it'll be enough to get them into the nomination. So we can see how we're getting those areas back into the BOA. Did we talk? Pardon?
How old is that paperwork and documentation?
I can't answer that off the top of my head, but somebody make a note to send it all to Corey. It's cool to look at. It really is.
That's where how old it is.
Yeah, but I think if you look.
I think the sound has cut out online.
Are we back? Did you hear me, Shannon?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. Couple issues with as far as I'm not sure what, but we'll have a meeting with them soon and report back to everybody. If you all saw the email on Jen Waters, she heads up the semiconductor for ESD. She's coming here March 6th, most likely in this room here at 4 p.m. Please sign up for that. If it gets too busy, because we've invited all the legislators and we've invited a bunch of other people too to really give a good explanation on what they're doing. So let me know ahead of time, we might have to move it to a larger venue. Also, we're applying, as I mentioned earlier, for earmark money for the Masonic. And then NOFO grant, which is a large grant tied into a different group within the EPA. We're going to, apply for at least 10 million, for the dual fold site additional funding. So we'll know more on that pretty soon. We're working with Hodgkin Russ to figure out where we sit as far as applying for that money. And then, one last thing I want to do is, these past 3 months, we've been really, out full steam. It's been crazy, the additions, working with new grant opportunities, and I'd like to thank all 4 of the team. I mean, they've been putting in extra hours. We've been going a lot of places. We've been meeting with a ton of people. Every day we have 4 or 5 meetings that'll talk from a brownfield to a micro grant to a large project. So we're doing an awful lot in our office, and I just want to, thank them on the record. Everybody needs to know what we're doing in there. And if there's ever a day you want to just come and shadow us, we would love to have that, because there is just, and it's not getting any slower, quieter. We have a lot of projects going on and more coming too. The Rem Arms one is really keeping me up at.
So discussions are continuing with them.
I had a meeting with their consultant that Scott Sora, he's the owner, one of the owners hired the other day with the real estate person. Right now, if you go online, you can see they're auctioning off a ton of equipment out of there. I'm pretty sure that they're just gonna close the doors at some point very soon. And I'm not sure how it's gonna go from there. I asked the realtor point blank, have you heard from anybody? He goes, I heard from a Belgian firm. I said, how interesting. He goes, the first thing he asked for is how much iron, steel is in that facility. So he wants to scrap. So they said, no, thank you. My biggest fear, and I've said it before a million times, somebody from Jersey is gonna buy it for $1 million, scrap it all, and then walk away. Problem in New York State is you abandon your property, any of past taxes stay with the property, doesn't go with the owner. What's the liability to them? They've gotten their money out of it. I don't blame them for leaving. That was their business, right, Jimmy? From the beginning, they weren't staying. And everybody knew that. They weren't staying here. So I don't know. You get one weed in that parking lot and you're gonna see every rock go into those windows. Once people know that there's nobody there, it turns awful. Well, I've had conversations with the county. They've been receptive to the county, are receptive to our conversation. We haven't put any proposal yet, but until we know how much hair is there, and there's 15 wells and they haven't been able to find a bunch of them because they're closed in the parking lot. The DEC, however, has said that a lot of that project was closed out. I grew up here, you grew up here. You ever remember hearing a spill or a fire or anything there? Me neither. It's just crazy. But in the 80s, they switched over, like for doing plating and different things, they went water-based. So they eliminated a lot of the bad chemicals that they had there. They still have heat treat, they still did barrels, they had to oil quench a lot of things. Where did it go? We talked to Alvin Montana from the sewer plant, because they control that. In his 22 years, there's only been 2 reports against them. One was, it was a Thanksgiving holiday and the guy took off early and never submitted the reports. And the other one was such a small amount of something got in there and they couldn't even trace it back. So they've never had issues with it. So I don't know. I really don't know. Today they're looking at the cogen facility and a couple other things there. It's where they produce steam power, so they take gas, they produce steam. They used to produce electricity too and put it back in the grid. But when they broke away from National Grid and went to new power, that's what changed. When John Stevens talks about the hits that he's getting, which are going to be huge for that village of Ilion, a lot of it has to do with electricity. So in these municipalities, they're allotted X amount. And if you don't use that X amount, but it's not like tomorrow they'll lose it. They get about 2 years of window in there. So, but if after that time, if they don't see that happening, they switch that allotment to somebody else. So you really have to worry about that too. You have to worry about all the property tax that they use. But I really don't know. It's a big thing. We talk about it a lot. We walked it. AB walked it with us. It's a lot. Are we property managers? If we don't do it, who's gonna do it? If we let it sit there, is it just gonna turn into another dual fold? I don't think we can let that happen.
said, work everything out.
Oh, like Bills, or
I know.
look at
Look at Bill-
Newport.
yeah,
Newport
things that
turned so bad, you can't do a thing in there. It's all gotta come down. I don't know. I think if we put it as a PIP, like we do with green space, and say, as we get development in there, part of the property taxes go back to pay down the county like we do now, and then we can work to bring somebody in. But I think to assume that somebody's gonna, and we have pushed it, right, Jimmy? We've met with people, we've pushed the property. But to find somebody that could come in and take it all. And we talked to developers, and they, a big developer, and he said, this is big, so it would be a team. But I haven't really pushed it like into the area that we know from brownfield development yet, because we don't own it, I mean, he wants 10 million, would he give it to the IDA? I kind of think they will. I think that's the way they're leaning. They talked to Empire State Development about grants. I didn't quite understand that conversation. I wasn't on it, but Empire State Development said we're going to get certain grants, especially like the Fast New York, which we already got. So I'm not familiar. I think there was a lot of just not people understanding. But I don't think they'll get 10 million for it unless, with Micron growing and Global Foundry, somebody comes in and needs office space right away. With the space that they have in offices, you could probably put roughly to 500 to 600 apartments. You don't have people to fill that. That wouldn't make good sense to do that there. But to tear it down, I think you would never get the investment back. That area doesn't command $200,000-300,000 homes. It's a hill. It's not where do you get the money to tear it down? Everybody says, well, Beechnut did. Well, Beechnut got strip blind again too. And that's what happened there. A guy came in for $1 million, stripped it clean and ran away.
But the building was in good condition.
The building's
So
in great
it's
condition.
Alternative to beach nut, which
Oh, was that-
wasn't.
It was in the beginning until he stripped everything. Yeah.
3 million square feet.
Tear it down and. now it's-
It's 1,100,000 square feet and 37 acres in the village. We're already getting calls, oh, if you take it over, we want to buy this parking lot. Absolutely not. We want to take over this part of it. Absolutely. You sell up the parking lot and you get a big supply. What do you do then? I mean, you run into the same situation.
What do you think it costs to tear the whole thing down?
I can't even imagine.
More.
I got a
more
good
numbers?
imagination too, but I can't imagine.
Within the salary.
Well, what would, inside would burn, but then you remember how much metal's in there? There's no asbestos in there. They really removed all the asbestos. I mean, it wouldn't be hot, but you have so much coolant or materials in those floors too. I think it'd go pretty damn quick. But Jimmy said that, not I. So just.
I do.
Okay, we got the scoop on it. That's a little.
Like- So we're trying to get a little bit more capital for the capital fund at this stack, and that's where the no-food grants coming in, no-phone grants coming in. And so the EPA has, I think it's, I want to say it's $100 billion to spend on these type of projects. But what can happen here is 10 million can go to that to clean up the areas that have collapsed over time. The roofs are hot with asbestos, so the material in those roofs, you can't just dig out and throw away. You have to do a certain process. So to go in there to remove all of that, you have to stabilize the building. And part of this grant will allow us to do that. That's an additional cost that really wasn't considered in the beginning because it wasn't that far down. But now if we can go in there, not tear down that L shape, take out that asbestos, stabilize that L shape, then they can rebuild and then we're go.
Well, is the project that, thought was a go, is that contingent on this?
No, they're still looking at other funding and moving ahead and trying to figure out other ways. They still have time on their due diligence. So like we gave due diligence for the piece of bare land, got to give a little bit more for a contaminated structure like this. So concurrently though, we're talking with the property in the back, a couple of people that are interested in developing that. We're talking to the county for some development in there, a couple of manufacturers, some other office space. So I can see we'll probably have a very good answer within the next couple months where we're at with that. So the due diligence is the thing. It's what's hot, what's not. Once again, that building was scrapped out completely. But that's okay too, because you're in a municipal power. We get that building cranking back up again. We won't use as much as Remington, but at least they'll bring those numbers up again.
I thought it was a number.
They're close at the 36, well, now it's about 41, 42 million for that other part of that area. So that's what we're trying to help them with as well, but they're looking too. They don't want to go away from it. They like the property. We met with them, you know, not that long ago out in Syracuse. So it's just trying to get everything in place. It's a juggling game.
Thank you.
Oh, no worries.
That's the update section. Anyone else? Garrett, anything to say?
Meeting with, the regional representative, Senator Gillibrand, and John's coming over, that's on Friday. We're gonna talk about ag and food insecurity issues.
It's a shock. It just doesn't seem. And do you agree or?
Oh,
The food
The
insecurity?
food insecurity. Well, it's, the issue is, it was self-reported. And, it's a lot about the character of the county, that we have large rural areas and that there's no public transportation. So all the people that are in the, particularly elderly people, it's a thing for them to drive into the village, into Herkimer, to go food shopping. So you see that, and then you also see the complexity of having Old Forge in the mix, where it's 2 hours each way for food shopping.
But no, they do have a grocery store up there.
Right.
A small Big M. But tell them about your truck idea.
So we're working on a project. We have received most, but not all of our funding. We're still waiting for one foundation. And it's called the Veggie Van, and it follows a model used in other CC offices where there's a mobile farmers market. And we're gonna, instead of purchasing a van and hiring a staff person to do that, we're gonna sponsor and give a stipend to a local farmer to run a mobile food market during the season and hit some of the underserved areas. Like up in West Winfield, some of the public housing in the valley here.
The title insecurity gives the impression that people are going without when.
They are. They are a lot.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a lot.
I mean, you mentioned transportation, but people do travel to Herkimer or in Webb, they do have resources.
They do have
But you're saying
resources,
that
but
the transportation.
the transportation is a big factor.
And where they're located throughout there, I told you guys the other day, I was in shock. I was in Old Forge and there's homeless people in Old Forge.
Really?
Yeah.
Rough place to be in the winter.
Well, but they live out in the woods. They come in, they bring them stuff all the time. It's a sad situation.
And then, you know, Old Forge, the area's market, that's like, they're trying to transition out of that. And Dollar General calls them like every week. And they'll have a check there in 24 hours to buy the property.
Dollar General is a grocery store. If you go into them, they can supply you with the basics.
Well, not nutritional.
Well, I understand.
I mean, I like
understand
getting more
that,
beef
but
stew
that's-
like everybody else, but
that's their
only
bottom.
once in a while.
Yeah.
Talk to a teacher
Yeah.
and talk to them about what the biggest challenge is. One of the biggest challenges with their students and students.
It truly is.
No, I just.
Cause you don't see, we don't see it as much.
Surprised.
Yeah, oh, to me too, and then you sit down and we went to that, you had a great meeting the other day up at the college and. I mean, you'd be shocked at all.
Okay, we need a, motion to go into executive session. We're having
After that, says, yeah.
motion by Ann, second John. Go into executive session to discuss, some litigation, acquisition, proposal.
Can you, take off? You wanna stay?